are going to be making papier-mâché snakes based on Oaxacan wood carvings. Oaxaca is a state in Mexico famous for their hand-carved and painted figures and masks. These ancient traditions have become more popular lately because people are recognizing Oaxacan wood carvings as unique. The subjects often vary and include mermaids, animals, peasants, and sometimes nativity scenes. These figurines are usually really humorous and interesting because of their bright colors and patterns, and they usually convey some sort of an attitude with which they look at the world. Here's an example of a snake that we'll be making. It's got the coils and it's got a neat pattern on it. And here's another one. So basically you're capturing the attitude of the animal that you're making and the different movements that that creature may make. And you can be very creative with the patterns that you use and the bright colors that you use. Okay, there are two different ways that you can do this. You can use a foil base and then you can do a papier-mâché on top, or you can use masking tape on top for this, which is easier for some of your younger students. So I'm going to do a demonstration using the papier-mâché and the masking tape. Okay, let's get started. For the papier-mâché snake, you're going to need to make a paste of some kind. You can either use like an Elmer's craft paste that comes in a powder form. You can get it, it's really cheap, and you just mix it with water. Or you can do a glue to water combination. A lot of people like to do 3/4 glue to 1/4 part water. Or you can do, for a thicker paste, like Elmer's glue, you can use like a half glue and half water, like 1 part water, 1 part glue. You can also use a recipe with a flour and water concoction with a little bit of salt, but the problem with the flour is that sometimes it attracts bugs, and those bugs will eat through your papier-mâché, and then your sculpture just falls apart in the end. So I usually like doing the glue to water recipe. So I've already mixed together my half water, half glue for my paste, and we're going to go ahead and start with creating our foil base. So I usually like to give my students 2 sheets of foil to work with, and they can use it how they need for their particular animal that they're making. We're making snakes. And this sheet is about 8 by 12 inches. And first you want to start by rolling your foil kind of loosely into a coil. This. And there's your coil. And then they're going to take and they're going to curve, they're going to sort of loop one end of it to make the head. Okay, so you've got your body and you have your head. And then your students need to think about the movement that their creature is going to be making. So snakes, or maybe caterpillars or worms, they will either be slithering or coil, or caterpillars will sort of be inching along like this, and you won't see a snake making this movement. So it'll be sort of like the body will be going like that. Okay? So we're going to be making a snake for this demonstration, and so I guess I want to sort of make a coil like that. So I can start by coiling in the body like that, and then I can raise the head. So it's sort of saying hello like that. And then one thing that you want to be sure to do before you start wrapping your foil base with paper mache is you want to make sure that it can stand on its own. So I'm going to set it down and make sure that it stands, and it does. If it sort of topples over like that, you can press down a little bit, and that's the nice thing about the foil base, is that you can keep reshaping it until it does what you want. And if you press down a little bit, it creates a flatter surface that it can stand on. So mine is good. And then the second thing that I want the kids to do is that I want them to take another piece of foil just to make the head a little bit wider for a snake. But if it's a worm, then this is probably a good shape for it to be for the head. But for a snake, maybe you'll build up the head a little bit more. So I'm just going to add some extra foil. And then you can sort of have them press it down to make a triangular shape. Like that. Okay? So now I've pre-cut some pieces of newspaper. You usually want to cut strips first, about maybe a ½ inch. And then in length you want them to be about 1.5 inches long. I guess it depends on how big your figure is going to be. If it's a smaller figure, it's easier to manage smaller strips, so you can do kind of 1 inch, like that. Okay? And you're going to have the kids dip their strips into the paste, or you can use a paintbrush and paint the strips. So you're going to dip, get a good amount of glue, and then sort of wipe the glue off of the strip on the edge of the bowl. And then you're going to start wrapping the foil base with the strips. And you want them to do 2 layers of newspaper on their snake. And make sure that the strips overlap each other so that there's no foil showing. Okay. And you want to make sure that it's not too lumpy, so make sure to press down all the lumps and smooth it out as you're going along. It'll become smoother the more layers that you add. After you've got your 2 layers, you're going to do 1 layer of white paper over the top so that it will be easier to paint over once it's dry. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this up, and we can let it dry and paint our pattern on it.